Hello, everyone. My name is Sneha. I'm the CEO of Spectrum Success. Thank you for being with us today at Higher Success. I'm here today with Albert. Albert, thank you for being on our show today.
Yeah, thank you for having me on your show today.
Absolutely.
My name is Albert Chen. I'm the founder of Albert's Job Listings and Referrals, otherwise known as Albert's List, and we're one of the largest job search groups currently on Facebook and expanding. And I'm also a high-tech marketing professional.
Very cool. So let's talk about the first thing first. Can you tell us a little bit more about your Facebook group?
Yeah, happy to. So if you're interested in go to our Facebook group, it's accessible at bit.ly/findyournextjob. And so we're on Facebook here with over 16,300 members, and we
Wow.
help connect people to all sorts of companies around California and beyond, tech companies that you and I have all heard of. And we have connections with recruiters as well, and we help people get hired faster.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
What led you to make this Facebook group?
Yeah, so I was a recession graduate back in 2010, and for me, it was a real struggle to find a job. And after I had been able to land on my feet, what I really wanted to do was help a lot of other people out because I noticed a lot of my peers were struggling. And so I felt like the best way to do that was through a Facebook group. Initially,
Okay.
I was posting a lot of my jobs to my Facebook status update, and that didn't really do much
Okay.
as far as get in the way of a lot of people's Instagram food posts. But we started a group, and early on, it was all about helping other people out and just kind of dumping opportunities in one spot. And as the group has evolved, it's kind of become this center where people can feel supported and come for their job search needs and get to know each other and really build a community around what otherwise is a very tough job search.
It is, yeah. I've been on your Facebook page, and it is like a whole community there, and then there's a lot of support from each other, from the
Mhm.
members as well as the recruiters and everything.
Yeah.
So, you yourself, can you tell us about your diagnosis, and maybe we can talk a little bit about how that's affected you?
Yeah, so I would say I was diagnosed with Asperger's syndrome sometime between 1991 and 1992.
Okay.
And for those on the podcast here keeping score today, you realize that Asperger's syndrome wasn't actually diagnosed until about that time as well. And so I would consider myself one of the more earlier diagnosed individuals. And so at that time, I was about 4 to 5 years old. Now that I'm in my late 20s, I have gone back and I've read the original case file, and it's everything that's consistent with Asperger's syndrome. But also at the end of the day, it also leaves me to consider, okay, so what am I, what am I not? It's a very interesting identity point for sure.
Yeah, what about the recent DSM criteria taking
Mhm.
away Asperger's syndrome from the autism it's just autism
Mm.
spectrum now? There's no Asperger's syndrome separate diagnosis. How do you feel about that?
I feel like people who have Asperger's, at least having been someone myself who has been diagnosed but wonders if he has it or not, I think people with Asperger's are a very special group of people because I think they bring a lot of good, I think, expertise and knowledge about whatever topic they really like,
Mhm.
or a sense of innocence that maybe we think that we've lost when a lot of us have become adults. But there's a lot of really great, I think, personality traits to being someone with Asperger's. And I think to remove the spectrum is a little bit disheartening because there are people who have autism that is a lot heavier than Asperger's.
Sure.
And they deserve a special and certain kind of support too that's different from people who are up and down the spectrum.
That's very well said, and I absolutely agree with you. I was disheartened as well when Asperger's was removed as a
Mhm.
formal diagnosis. I do think that there are some similarities with others on the spectrum, but like you said, it's such a large and
Yeah.
wide spectrum that I do think adults and kids who have Asperger's have their own set of individual needs that need to be addressed.
Yeah.
So how do you think that your diagnosis has affected you with, let's talk about jobs.
Mhm.
Is that okay?
Sure.
So let's start with your current job.
Mhm.
What do you currently do aside from your Facebook group that you've created? That's something you do on the side on your own
It
time,
is.
right?
Mhm.
Right, and you're not getting paid for that. That's something that you're doing out of the goodness of your heart and helping so many people. That's really awesome. Good for you.
Mhm.
But what do you do full-time job-wise?
I am a marketing manager at a technology company.
Okay.
And so I would say that as far as Asperger's is concerned, I mean, what's funny is, right, that I've been diagnosed with Asperger's, and marketing is a very great career for
Sure.
black and white people.
Sure.
And luckily, I'm in a job where I realize that in marketing, especially in your product marketing and marketing project management type of work, it's a very process-driven job, and so
Mhm.
that means there's step-by-steps. And so for people who are born with Asperger's, it's actually a great career to get into because
Interesting.
you have to launch products, you have to go on and think about how to develop a strategy in and out. And so at the end of the day, that in itself feeds into an Asperger's strength, where everything is kind of in a box. And how I leverage this in my own career is that I allow it to serve as a jump off point, and I'm able to be creative after the fact and really work with whatever creativity I have within me, and that really works out well.
Very cool. So
Yeah.
what I'm hearing you say is that
Mhm.
there are in the marketing job, there are those things that fit into the box, and there are certain rules, step by steps
Mhm.
that you have to
Yep.
follow, and engaging that almost helps with your creativity. Do you think?
It does, because I think it allows me to go back to something safe. I know that being able to write and being able to kind of sit alone for the job that I have because I'm remote lets me do the thinking that I need to do, but also live within a guaranteed process. And especially, at companies where processes like this may not exist,
Mhm.
it really clarifies a lot of different things.
So when you say that you're remote, are you working from home or are you in an office with other employees?
I'm working in an office with other employees.
Okay.
I choose to, even though I do have the option to work from home.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
So what made you choose to work with other employees at the office instead of in the comfort of your home?
Just a little bit of camaraderie and getting to know
Yeah,
people.
that's
I think
great,
it's
yeah.
important to connect with others.
Okay, it's
Yeah.
nice to have people around always,
Mhm.
yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Do you find it difficult at all and have you ever been in a situation that was difficult for you to navigate with your coworkers?
Early on in my career, when I took everything a lot more personally, there were situations where I threw my manager on the bus on purpose over company-wide email,
Oh, wow.
and I was absolutely let go for it. I understand that, at a much older and hopefully wiser age, that those
Mhm.
are things that you simply don't do.
Right.
I mean, I realize that, as folks who have Asperger's sometimes get very overwhelmed, and when they're not doing well at work, they try to do a little bit of everything and a little too much of everything.
Okay.
And that includes tossing people under the bus that shouldn't be tossed under the bus. And so for me, it was a great opportunity to figure out, like, okay, this is just not what you do. That's not okay.
Sure.
And it's important to go to a company that has a little bit more of process and that you can learn. And I think people generally have a very very good understanding of how other people act within these types of situations too.
Right. So looking back at that incident when you threw your manager under the bus,
Hmm.
what would you do differently now if you were in the same situation?
I think it would be a conversation that I would have one-on-one with my manager.
Okay.
And we would sit down and I would talk about what my struggles are, and I would ask her what she would expect of me, and I would adjust how I work in order to fit what she was looking for me to do.
Okay. That's a
Um,
great response to communicate, to address it with the
Absolutely.
person that you're having the issue with.
Mhm.
That's a great way to respond to the situation. And you clearly have learned a lot
Mhm.
throughout your job history. Can you take us through your job history? What was your first job?
So my very first job, actually, I was working from home.
Okay.
I was a technology consultant at a company where they did technology implementations, and so I would say, probably just saying as a general journey of my career all the way through, for somebody who requires structure, I had to kind of create my own structure because a lot of how our careers function these days, especially, is really, really, what would I say? It's really nebulous, right? Because all of the career advice out there, how to write your resume, how to go to an interview, how to do all these things, it's just so overwhelming
It
after
is.
a while.
It is overwhelming.
And I did this manually over the last 6 years.
Wow.
Really discovering that I'm not just going to work to just go to work. I'm going to work because the company wants to make a profit, and they're hiring me because I'm going to help them make that profit. I'm going to a company because I want to add a certain type of value that they know that I can bring, and so that's why I'm in demand. And so early on in my career, it was very much of a, oh yeah, let's go to work because I can get a paycheck every 2 weeks. Or let's go to work so I can go hang out with people for the day, or just have something to do. And to some effect, going to work still has like the whole, oh, I have something to do, but it also has this impact where I'm thinking, okay, in the long term, there's something that's going to really help with this, and I'm here to support some type of specific sales function, or I'm here to help drive some type of like awareness, and knowing my role in that helps a lot more because that has allowed me to really knock it out of the park with my interviews. And so I think
have meaning and purpose
yeah,
in
yeah.
what you're doing.
And so I think the high level is that when you know your clarity and when you know why you're at a certain place and when you know how you're adding that specific value, going to work, applying for work, and stepping into work makes a lot more sense.
All right. And so do you feel like you're at that place now, job-wise, career-wise?
I think I'm getting there.
Okay.
I think I'm getting there. I think that I'm still a little bit impatient for the things that I want, but as I continue to work on the things that I'm working on, it'll make a lot more sense.
Okay. In your previous jobs, was there one job that you were just more comfortable with than the other jobs? Or are there certain tasks when you're at work that you're more comfortable with?
I think sometimes I'm more comfortable with tasks that involve just working on my own, just because I don't have to go and chase after people. In my current job, I have to go chase after people, obviously, but it's just part of the job as a day-to-day function.
Is that overwhelming for you, or do you just find it more of an annoyance?
It's more of an annoyance, but it's part of the job. And so I would say that what I know now about my career versus what I knew 3-4 years ago doesn't really allow me to, I think, answer the question by saying, I think, like, is there something I'm more comfortable or not comfortable with? Because I was only aware of a certain number of things at a certain point in my career.
Sure.
If I could go back and redo some of these jobs and do them in a different way, would I? Absolutely, because I realized that there are certain aspects of what I did that at that time maybe I wasn't so awakened to.
Okay.
And so now as more of an awakened person, yeah, I look back at some of these gigs and I realize, okay, maybe there's something that I regret here and there, but there's only so much that I knew at the time. And so beating myself up for it doesn't make any sense.
Sure. And
anymore.
so these things that you recognize, did you recognize them yourself? Did someone else point them out to you? A manager, a supervisor, a job coach?
I had to recognize these all on my own.
Wow.
I've had times where I remember at one particular job where I had a manager who pulled me into a side conference room and told me I needed to come up with more ideas. And at that time, this was a time in my life where I wanted to just show up to work, and hopefully work towards a higher salary, and it didn't matter where I was working.
Okay.
And so as I look back on that, I see what this manager meant.
Okay.
At the time, I thought I was being harassed and annoyed. And so, again, I think it's the notion of clarity and discovering what sort of clarity means to you.
Right. And that's a great and important point that Albert's bringing up is two different people's perceptions of the same situation could be completely different. So if you don't feel like you're on the same page with your manager or a coworker or a friend, it's important to address that and talk to them because it could be a simple misunderstanding.
Yep.
Right?
Absolutely.
Or sometimes managers just want to give you feedback, and hopefully that'll help you grow as an employee and as a professional, which it sounds like you have done very well.
Yep.
Which is awesome. That's good
And
for
I'm
you.
going to continue to grow. I'm sure there are things right now that I still don't know,
Right.
and I'm looking forward to learning them.
And look at your Facebook website. You have
Yeah.
thousands of followers that you are helping get jobs. That is
Absolutely.
amazing, Albert.
Thank you.
When we were chatting before, you mentioned what you called pet topics. Can you tell me what you mean by that?
Yeah, so in the realm of Asperger's syndrome, I think one of the more fun things that's always interesting are pet topics, and those are topics that I think live in a realm of obsession for people who have Asperger's syndrome and are diagnosed. And so mine, for example, for a long time have been interstate highways.
Interstate highways.
So
okay.
much that I nearly went to grad school in urban planning thinking I might not get a job after graduation. And now it's just kind of a fun thing. I'll go to Wikipedia, I'll read up on the history of a particular interstate or a spur route or whichever. And, in LA, in Los Angeles, this is a pretty interesting thing in itself because there's so many different freeways that go to so many different places. And, I geek out about this and it's pretty hilarious.
So do you think that you could see yourself having a future career involving some sort of urban planning or something like that, or?
Possibly. I think I could serve as somebody who could be an advocate for specific types of like urban routes, or be a person that works with in tandem in the tech industry, talking about how we can create better cities
Right.
that leverage the cloud.
Right, there's a
or
lot you can
anything like
actually do with that.
that. Oh yeah, absolutely.
Now,
And,
you use the word obsession.
hmm
Do you think that this obsession distracted you from doing your job, or when you were growing up, doing your homework or having friends, or do you think it's impacted you in any way aside from just being something that you really enjoyed doing?
No, I would encourage anyone who has Asperger's and likes to think of this as an obsession to not think about it as one.
Okay.
I think they should see it as a gift. So, the world is starving for specialists. And if you can not only climb into something and do something, but also be overly obsessed about it, I think it presents a unique challenge and a unique opportunity for any company that wants to bring somebody in. So especially for, the computer science graduate that maybe we all love, who thinks that their obsession with JavaScript is a little too much. There's a lot of companies who want JavaScript developers and web developers and application
Absolutely.
developers. And if you can come in and you can demonstrate from day one that this is your thing, you'll be employed for years to come.
I agree. I think more and more companies are starting to realize the value of hiring employees with Asperger's syndrome.
Mm-hmm.
Employers definitely need to do a lot more, but they are starting to see how much one person can bring to the table, and how having Asperger's syndrome is actually, what's the word I'm looking for?
Beneficial, an advantage.
So I'm going to cut this part out because I totally blanked. But I'm looking for, I don't, it says it's right there. I'm looking for a specific word. An asset.
An
Okay,
asset.
so how having Asperger's syndrome is actually an asset to many
Mhm.
companies, especially like you're saying, if you're specialized
Yeah.
in one thing, you can do a lot more than a lot of other employees can.
Yep.
All right, so we're going to wrap up this episode today, but before I go, I want you to message Spectrum Success, or you can email me at spectrumsuccess.org@gmail.com, and I want to know what you want to ask Albert. Is there anything that you would like us to discuss in a future episode? 1, okay? 2, I also want you to tell me, what do you wish employers knew? If there's one thing you could tell your employer, a future employer or a past employer, that you think would help you during the job or help someone understand something about Asperger's syndrome or autism, what would that be? I'm going to be doing a future episode where I will be compiling all your answers and sharing them with future employers, hopefully future employers. So let me know, send me a message. Thank you guys for tuning in, and we'll see you soon. Thank you, Albert.
Thank you.